Hello everyone! Today I'm going to be doing an UNHAUL video. Simple as that. My boyfriend and I are going to be moving soon into a bigger apartment. I'm thrilled about this. However, I have too many books. And I don't want to move them all. I genuinely do not want to move them all. We've been in this current apartment for 2 years and we are outgrowing it rapidly. Mike wants to get a computer because he wants to be able to play PC games. There's no space for his computer because it's currently being taken up by my shit. So I went around my bookshelves today and I was looking at them and I was like, you know what? There's a lot of stuff here that I'm just not excited about anymore, and I'm not excited to read anymore. When I first got into BookTube, I was watching a lot of the bigger BookTube channels get hype about various books, and I bought into that hype a lot. And I bought a lot of stuff that I wouldn't necessarily read if it was just me reading it on my own. And so I've got quite a few books on this list that I bought at the time thinking, absolutely, yes, if I have to be reading this kind of stuff, if I want to be part of the BookTube community, no one's going to watch me unless I read the books that the big booktubers are reading. And as I read more and more of these bigger booktubers' book choices, I realized that a lot of their things that they like to read don't line up with the things that I like to read. And in some cases, they absolutely do, and we share a lot of the same opinions on stuff. But in the majority of the cases, I bought a lot of fucking books that I have no intention of reading at this point. Even if my intentions then were good, your girl ain't reading these books. I look at these books and I'm like, yeah, you cute, but we're not going anywhere with this relationship, so let's just cut it off. I think a lot of this also has to do with the fact that I'm 28 and I love young adult fantasy and science fiction, but I'm also starting to branch off into the new adult and actually some kind of heavy fantasy and science fiction books. And so sometimes the books that might have held my attention a couple years ago don't hold my attention anymore because I'm not a teenager. I don't think like one, and I don't act like one. I mean, sometimes I do. My sense of humor is very 15-year-old boy, but I find myself judging the characters in some of these books so harshly and thinking like, I wasn't like that. But I probably was because I was a shithead. So, but it's hard for me to read those characters now with my current perspectives. So I figured, you know what? Let's get rid of some books. And by getting rid of, I mean donate. I, first off, always try and donate to local classrooms, first and foremost. If I can get books into teachers' hands and they want the books, fuck yeah, you can have them. The second place I try and donate is the library. And if the library can't take those books, usually they can direct me to a classroom that can take those books. And from there, I actually try and sell the books back to a secondhand bookstore. And if they still won't take them, then I donate them. I don't just throw away books. And I do put a lot of effort into trying to find people for these books. So before y'all get insane up in the comments about you're wasteful with your money, I fucking know I am. I buy magic cards and I play phone games that I spend money on. Fight me. But genuinely, I do try and get the books somewhere where they'll actually matter. So it's a lot because I don't want to move these in 2 months when we move apartments. I'd rather have empty space on my bookshelf than carry 8 extra boxes of books. So just be prepared, settle in, get yourself a snack and a cup of tea, because we going on a rant. The first book that I am donating or unhauling, I actually fucking love this book. I just got a first edition hardcover version of it instead, so I'm getting rid of the trade paperback. And it's Seraphina by Rachel Hartman. I forgot who this was by. I loved this book. This book was enchanting, and it's a different perspective on dragon lore, and I'm actually going to be giving this particular book to one of my friends who I think will absolutely adore it. So Amber, if you're watching this, I fucking want you to read this because it's it's really good, and I think it would be right up your alley. So just be prepared, because I'm giving you this book. The next books are a series, and I tried reading this, and I got really grossed out because I am a little bit squeamish about certain topics and about certain things. And then I got really bored about 150 pages into the first book. So I was just like, fuck it, I don't care anymore. And it is the Rot and Ruin, the first 3 books. I think there's like 5 of these books. And the thought of like purchasing any more of these is not ideal. Plus the fact that I only got like 150 pages into this first book. The main character was sullen and selfish and whiny and very typical of what I see in certain dystopian teenage books. But I tend to really love the dystopian books where the main character has a sense of inner strength and drive. Even if they can be a little whiny, there's still something that matters, that drives them forward. And for me, I could not find it with these books. So I'm getting rid of them. I only paid $4 per book for these because I bought them secondhand in the first place. So, you know, maybe somebody will like them. It's a zombie story. Who knows? Somebody will want to hang out with zombies and read about zombies. The next book I just recently read and was very disappointed by. And it was The Memory Thief by Lauren Mancy. And for me, the premise of this book sounded so cool, y'all. Where it's a society where there's different levels of people, obviously, duh, caste systems in books. Wow, who'd have thought? But there's people without abilities, and then there's people with abilities, and then within those people with abilities, there's like medium, high level, and then ultra high level where it's like, bitch, you shouldn't even exist. Like, oh, you scare me. So this is a society all built on memories and thought being a sort of currency, if you can imagine that. So you need some bread, you need to pay rent, you got a happy memory, absolutely your rent is paid. So that's the kind of what I thought going into this. It was going to be like, wow, so like when you become drained of all of your memories, are you just a shell of a person? Like, what is this going to be? And it was so unfortunate. The pacing of this book is insane. It takes place over the span of 5 days. And in the span of 5 days, the main character figures out that her mom is going to be, I guess, killed off. Finds out that the ruler of this warring kingdom is her grandpa. Falls in love with a random boy that she met while having to go on a mission to save her mom. And figures out that this other dude is her dad. Like, the pacing was so bad. And, like, I am totally in the camp of love at first sight. When Mike walked out of that Barnes & Noble back room and I was going on my break, I was like, hot diggity damn, that's the one for me. But I wasn't out here making out with him 30 seconds later. It took weeks, y'all. Weeks. So for a relationship as deep and as important as this one to form in like a half an hour, I could not. I literally could not do it. And the ending was not cute. I was not a fan of the entire way that the plot was laid out. I think that the villain was extremely stereotypical, and I hate that because it's not creative and it's boring to read. So I read the damn book so that I could say that I read the damn book on my Goodreads, because I keep DNFing Goodreads books. And the problem with me DNFing books is they don't count towards my fucking book challenge. So I finished it. I'm sad I finished it. It's being unhauled. Don't read this unless you're like, if insta-love is your shit, read this book. Read that fucking book, because that's right up your alley. Speaking of weird pacing and books that like have a weird plot and characters that I don't identify with, the next book that we're unhauling is Akarne by Lynette Nori. I thought this was going to be a cool Narnia style Harry Potter magic school thing, because that's kind of what it's marketed as. Because it literally says that a girl is being sent to boarding school, but she steps through a doorway and has to go to a magical academy. And I was like, Narnia, Harry Potter, Narnia, Harry Potter. No. No, absolutely not. What happens is a whiny, needy, conceited teenage girl goes to private school, gets bullied on day one, and it's like, oh, I hate this school, I'm getting bullied. Goes to the headmaster's office and is like, I have to sign up for school here even though I'm being bullied. And the headmaster's like, okay, wait a minute. She goes through a fucking closet, drops into this alternate reality where that alternate reality is fully aware of Earth. But Earth has no idea that this alternate... Like, they study Earth like we're some sort of science experiment. And I'm like, alright, whatevs. But so she goes into this society, and as soon as she falls into this society, suddenly, in the woods where she drops, boom, is an intriguing man that she describes as sexy, hot, incredible, gorgeous, all this. Bitch, we find out in like 30 seconds later that he is 40. He is an old man. It is so... Oh, I was like, oh, I'm not ready for this. Hello, this was in the young adult section. Is this okay? So I was already grossed out, all right? Then, old man goes away. Some sort of villain. Has weird, creepy villain vibes. Yikes. Suddenly, two boys, teenage boys, approach and are instantly her best friend. Instantly. Disconcertingly fast, her best friend. So she goes, she signs up for school. The headmaster's like, yeah, bitch, we've been expecting you. And she's like, what? How are you expecting me? None of the magic is explained because it's not magic, it's science. But none of the science gets explained either. Like, they go to eat at one point in the dining hall and, like, shit magically appears. And the teenage girl, I literally forgot her name because I hate this book. She fucking is like, whoa, magic food! And the two teenage boys are like, no, it's science. It's like this. It's like particle acceleration. And she's just like, pretty sure that's not how that works. And they're like, well, that's how it works in this world. So I'm like, I'm frustrated because the book acts like the reader is stupid, but the actual main character is stupid. I just could not. So it's getting unhauled. I didn't even finish this. The next book on this list, I'm literally only unhauling it because I just don't have any interest in reading it anymore. It's not like a unfinished book or a DNF or anything like that. I got it in a crate. I don't remember if it was like Shelf Love Crate before I unsubscribed from that mess, or Owl Crate. I don't think it's Owl Crate because the signature page just has initials on it, and there's nothing special about this edition other than the initials on the like front page. So I don't know. I genuinely thought I was going to read this. I'm not. It is The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chokshi? Roshani Chokshi. I'm not going to read it. The synopsis isn't something that captures my attention at all. I'm not really into the whole, like, 1889, 1890s era of, like, industrialization, and unless it's, like, heavily influenced by, like, steampunk elements, it just doesn't interest me at all. So I will be donating this because I'm not gonna read it. I'm sorry. Alright, next up on this list is a book that I got about 30 pages into, and then I had to stop because I was really unprepared for the content, and the content actually made me have a little bit of like a panic attack slash episode. Like, I was just extremely uncomfortable, and like it gave me a lot of anxiety. So we're unhauling it. It did not have any content warnings in the beginning, and I probably should have looked up if there were any content warnings on this. Very few things like give me anxiety or like actually trigger my like almost throwing up response that my body does, because that's my fight or flight. It's not fight or flight, it's just throw up. So it is Red Hood by Alana K. Arnold. And I only got about, I actually don't remember how many pages it was until the incident in question happened. I believe it's at the end of literally chapter 1. But yeah, there's some really graphic depictions of an act that takes place that's like a little bit sexual, but it's a little bit too much for me, so I can't read it. Also, the entire book is told through second person perspective, which is hard for me to read. Second person being like you gaze at him, you dance with him, you look at him in the moonlight, and I just can't do that perspective. So part of it is the second person perspective. Part of it is the incident that happened that I was like, oh yikes! So it's getting unhauled. Goodbye, book. You are on my DNF shelf on Goodreads. The next set of books is another series that I'm just not going to read. I bought it because of the hype. I literally only bought this because of the hype that was on BookTube like 2 or 3 years ago. And it is the And I Darken and Now I Rise books by Kirsten White. I don't even know what these are about. I bought them because they were being hyped up so much on BookTube. And I literally just don't care anymore, so I'm getting rid of them. Super simple reason. I love super simple reasons like that. Next up on my list is another book that I'm getting rid of because I have 2 copies of it and I don't need 2 of them. So I have 2 copies of Scavengers and Stars by Tara Sim, and I really love this cover. I think it's stunning. I think it's gorgeous. But this is the Owl Crate edition, and so it's signed, and I was gonna keep 2 as like, this is a reading copy, this is like my collector's copy, but I don't need to move 2 copies of a book that I haven't even read yet. So we're getting rid of the unsigned edition. It is beautiful. It is a book that I absolutely want to read. I'm still excited about it, but I just don't need 2 copies. All right, y'all, brace yourselves. I'm gonna get some heat and some controversy over this. I can feel it. I'm already sweating. This book I bought because multiple big booktubers said that this was like their favorite book and this was their favorite author and this book changed their lives, and I have no interest in reading it. Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I really thought, y'all, that I was going to be like reading this the day I bought it. I was so excited about it, and I just reread the synopsis and it does not capture me at all anymore. I bought it because of the hype. So on to a new home it will go. It doesn't entice me at all. Sad to say it, but it must go because I'm not moving it. And the last set of books on this list are kind of interesting because one I've read, one I have not read. They go together. So the first book that I'm getting rid of is The Queen's Rising, and I actually really enjoyed this book. The premise of this is actually extremely interesting. Essentially, this girl gets sent to a boarding school that's almost like a finishing school where you are supposed to master one of the arts. And the arts are like knowledge, music, art. I don't remember all of them. I genuinely don't. It was good at the time. But the main character struggles to find her passion, and you have to like major in a passion essentially because it becomes like the entire devotion of your life. So she eventually settles on knowledge, has very little time to actually devote herself to the like amassing of knowledge or the understanding of knowledge as a passion, and is scared that she then won't find a patron, somebody that will employ her for the use of her massive amounts of knowledge about knowledge. That sounds kind of weird, but anyway. So she ends up getting a patron, but that particular patron, I believe, is, yeah, there's like a whole war plot going on in like the background that she gets super tangled and involved with. And when I read this and I finished this, I was like, holy shit, that was a little bit of a slog to get through, but worth it in the end. And so I bought the second one, and the second one is The Queen's Resistance. And I had to wait a little bit for The Queen's Resistance to come out. I think it was like 3 or 4 months, and then The Queen's Resistance came out, and suddenly I had no interest in rereading it because I could barely remember what happened in this. And so that was a big sign for me. And I thought, you know what, maybe I'll reread The Queen's Rising so that I can read The Queen's Resistance And the thought of having to reread the Queen's Rising, Jesus, was not appealing to me. So I just let it sit on my shelves. And even just now, trying to explain the plot of something that I read and enjoyed to you, I barely remember it at all. Not great. So I literally would be going into this having no idea what the hell was going on. So I'm going to let them go to somewhere else where maybe somebody can read them back to back and enjoy them, because I am not rereading this. I really am not. It's like 2-point font and it's like 450 pages long. I just cannot, y'all. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 books are off of my shelves. I do not have to move them. This is about half a box worth of books that I now no longer have to pack and move. I am hoping to do one more sweep through my shelves before we actually move at the end of July. But for now, I think this is a pretty damn good start. Pretty proud of that. I feel like I did something productive with my day today other than play Animal Crossing. Are there any books on this list that you think I should not unhaul? If I if it's a book that I haven't read yet that I absolutely should read, let me know. But for the ones that I have a visceral, actual no thank you response to, they're gone no matter what. What are you unhauling? What have you gotten rid of recently? I am genuinely curious, because I feel like this quarantine situation has made us all into big cleaners and organizers. So if you got rid of something, I want to know about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'm sorry this video was hella long, but had to get my feelings out there. I will see you in my next video. Bye!